and willing to take this on with us. So again, if I haven't met any of you, I am Shannon Elliott, and I'm the manager of our support group leader network called InSync. And so this is our second training of 2 this week, and we're recording everything. So if you happen to miss anything from this week, we had an info session last week, then we will be posting those in a special location on our website, which I'll definitely point you to today, so you know where all these good resources are going to be for you. So yes, I believe we have quite a bit of info to get through today. So I just thought we would jump in and start covering all the topics we want to get through. And then if you have any questions, we can address those toward the end. And yes, great. I've got Andrea on with us today. So she just waved, and she's yeah, there she is. She's doing tech backend for me today. Rebecca, who's been with us the last couple of times, she has another call at the same time, so she won't be with us. And we also have Trang, who is hiding right now. She has her son with her. So, but yes, so we have some other staff on the call today. All righty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen, and we'll start with a PowerPoint. Okay. All righty. Okay, so more on Zoom and online facilitation today. So I got a good number of questions after Tuesday's session, and so I'd like to begin with addressing some of those things. And let's just talk about as well, you know, just the scope of the day, what we're going to be doing and covering. Yeah, so for today's training, we're going to be addressing those questions I received since Tuesday and some other tidbits I thought might be helpful for you. We're going to be covering how to schedule a group meeting time. We addressed that a little bit the other day. We're going to touch on it again. I have an addition for you, and we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about the agreement that will be required for you to sign in order to take part in our Pro Zoom account program. And then just a little bit more information clarifying how you communicate with your group and what it is that you're going to let them know. We've got the online facilitation and techniques, the ideas that could be helpful for you as you start your transition into online meetings. And then we've got Q&A, of course, just to make sure everyone knows what they need to know to get started. All right. So more on Zoom. So I got a question from Diana. I don't know if Diana's on the call yet, about polling. And so there is a feature that Zoom has that allows you to poll your audience, poll your participants on certain questions. We have decided as a team that we are not going to enable this particular function because a lot of us as support group leaders are sharing the same Zoom account. And what happens is that when you do polls, those polls get saved. And so it will start to build up as far as the polls being saved by all these different groups, and then it'll start to get really confusing. And then that's a lot of work on our part to have to go in and make sure that everything would be cleared out all the time. So we just decided it would be easiest to start out with not allowing any polls. But I do want to point you to a couple of other options that would give you a similar experience where you'd be able to engage your audience and ask them questions, have them interact with you. So it's not a completely didactic, you know, a speaker talking the whole time and there's no interaction. So I wanted to remind you about the yes and no and raise hands function. So I'm going to try to share my screen. I have a feeling that you're not going to be able to see my functions on my screen for Zoom, because as I explained before, what's difficult with training on Zoom is that you're not able to see my screen. Are you able to see my participants list here? Can someone verbally tell me?
No.
You cannot? Okay, so I was right. Yeah, I'm not actually able to show you what my screen looks like, so I'm going to direct you. So I would like you all on your own computer screens to open the participants list. So if you hover over your screen at the bottom, you're going to see participants. You're going to click on that, and then you're going to have a menu come up on the right hand side. So there are going to be some functions, some buttons you can click on. There's a raise hand, that's a blue hand. Do you see that? There's right next to that is a yes with a check mark. There's a no with an X. And so you can use these buttons actually to ask your group members a question, and then you can have them respond by hitting these buttons, and then that would be similar to a poll. It's just something that you would have to look in your participants list for. So hopefully that is clear. All right. So
Hello.
hello, I hear someone, but I can't see who you are. Welcome.
MasterCard, Visa, and Discover.
Okay, sounds like you have some feedback, so you might be on a phone and a computer at the same time. So if you'll either hang up on one or mute yourself, that would be excellent. Thank you. Okay. All right, so another alternative to a poll would be the chat box. Again, at the bottom of your screen, if you hover, you'll see the chat. We've talked a little bit about this already. If you hit chat, it's going to open a chat box dialog box on the side where people can type in messages. So something you could say is, you know, as an icebreaker, getting into your group meeting at the very beginning of the day, say, hey, you know, what are you grateful for today? Something like that. They can each type in their responses. It's not going to be everyone trying to talk at the same time. We know it can be a little tricky going from person to person when you're trying to hear responses. So the chat box is another feature that you can use for communicating and then hearing from everyone. I think it's really great to encourage everyone to participate early and often. So if you get them going right at the beginning of the meeting, then they're going to be more likely to continue to interact with you as opposed to just sitting back and watching, observing. Let's see. All right, I see that someone is having trouble with audio. I don't know if Trang, you'll be able to help her with that. New PC Alley. Yes, so Robin, let me go through one more thing, and then Robin has a really good suggestion to test something. So I just wanted to address the reactions as another option. Because I'm sharing my screen, it's hard for me to remember what it looks like on your screen. But at the bottom, if you have upgraded you've been updating your Zoom program as those updates come in, you should have an option at the bottom for reactions. And I believe there's a thumbs up. So if you hit that reaction option down at the bottom, you'll have an option to say, oh yes, I see some thumbs up. And then there might be some hands clapping. Yeah, so that would be yay. So that's another way you can get some interaction from your audience. And Robin says, for me, it's under more. And it might be under more because the size of your screen, the bigger your window is, the more menu options you're going to have at the bottom. If you have a smaller window, Zoom window, then the more button will show more of those options that just can't fit on the bottom of your screen. Hopefully that is clear. Artis will try to address your question about security in a little bit. Okay, I'm going to keep going because we have a lot of things to cover today. So recording and chat issues. So Joan, support group leader, wrote in with this question about recording and chat, and I just want to talk for a second about this. So there is a function to record meetings, and it's only given to co-hosts and hosts. Okay, so participants aren't able to record without special permission, but what I want to emphasize here is that we are not permitting, we're not allowing any of our support group leaders to record any of the meetings. That just goes against the confidentiality and privacy of people. So please, this is just one stipulation. You're not going to be able to record anything, and you should not copy any of the chats as well, because that's, again, communication from your group during a support group meeting that's confidential. So please do not allow that to happen. I wanted to show you an example of this. Hopefully you can see my screen. I took a screenshot of a call that I had with Trang the other day, because I wanted to see what happened when she tried to record the meeting. So if you'll see in the right-hand top corner, the participants list. So there I am as host, and Trang is there just as a participant. She's not a co-host. So what happened is at the bottom of the screen, if you see the record button, it's grayed out a little bit. So she tried to record, and this pop-up box came up. It says, please request record permission from the meeting host. And so that gave me, that just made me feel a little bit more comfortable, because I wasn't sure what would happen when participants tried to record. So I'm glad to know that that happens, that they're not even able to. And Andrea says, different paid level, same company, but the more you, oh, okay, so yes, so Andrea was actually answering a question to someone else. So I'm just gonna let that go for a moment and keep going. So I'm gonna back up. Okay, so we had another question about capturing who attended your meeting. So I believe it was Sandra out in California. She asked, can we get a list of who shows up to the call? Can we know who they are and get their email addresses? So the simple answer is no. That is only accessible to administrators, people who can actually get into the back end of Zoom. And we're not allowing that for our support group leaders. You're just getting your links and signing in. You're not actually going through our website and being able to make reports and things like that. So what I would suggest, if you wanted to keep track of people who attend your meetings, to go ahead and designate someone on the call, and they open their participants list, and they actually need to handwrite. They have to make a list of who showed up if you want to keep track of that. So it's not super high tech or efficient, but that's just the best way I can think of right now to address that. Okay, so host and co-host more menu. So I wanted to just address a couple of more things that I saw on the co-host menu. So can you see my screen? Can I have a verbal? Can you see my screen? This is a screenshot of another Zoom call.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you. So if you'll see here, I was logged in as a co-host, and there's the mute all button, unmute all, and then there's this more. So these are the options that I wanted to just address quickly. So if I were to want to become host again, I could hit reclaim host, and then whoever was host that day would have to give me that privilege. Okay, so that is an option. Mute participants on entry. Typically, we probably don't want that enabled, because we want people to be comfortable as they get in and not feel like they're stifled and can't talk. So that's maybe not an option you would want to have clicked on. The one below that, allow participants to unmute themselves. So yes, you do want that clicked there, because you do want them to be able to mute and unmute themselves if they have background noise, things like that, when they're not speaking. It's best if you are on mute, but to allow them to be able to unmute themselves is great. Below that is play, enter and exit chime. So that's really up to you. It's a little annoying. It's that doorbell sound, maybe not necessary. Below that, allow participants to rename themselves. Sure. So sometimes you'll see here on this screen, it just says iPad. So it was the way that they logged in, and they just don't have it named. So that person can actually rename themselves. So it's easier to see not just their faces, hopefully, but also their accurate first name. So it's just easier to communicate with people. And then finally here, lock meeting. So if you were to hit that, that would actually keep people from joining your meeting after that point. So I'm not sure why you might want that, but that is an option. So I just wanted to let you know some of these other options in that more category, so we're familiar. And then finally on this slide, I wanted to just bring up this feature called breakout rooms. So as a host and co-host, you have the ability to break out the people in your meeting into smaller groups. You can do one-on-one. You could have a group of 6 people get together and talk for a little while, maybe have 10 minutes together to discuss something specific, and then everybody would come back into the main room, and then you could discuss from there. So I just wanted to get a sense, and I think I might stop sharing just so I can see more of your faces. Okay, so yes, would anyone like to address breakout rooms in the future as far as like a training? I have one hand going up. Does it just feel, yeah, okay. It might be a little bit too, feel a little too overwhelming at this point and complicated, but that's why I thought we wouldn't do it now. We would get used to things first, and then we'll develop some more capacity to do more fancy things in the future. So you can let me know. It seems like a few people are interested, so I'll consider doing a special training on breakout rooms. Okay, so I see some people are in the chat box. Let's see, screenshot of participants list. Yes, you could do that. Sometimes you have to scroll, Lauren, because not everybody is on this, so yeah. Let's see. Yeah, security. What happens to people who are not in the breakout room while the few talk together? Okay, so the breakout rooms, and I won't go into it too much, but everyone gets put into a breakout room of sorts. Yeah, so depending on how many people you have in your room, and so you as a host have the ability to make it random, or you can specify, I want these 5 people to talk all together. Maybe they have a similar issue they're dealing with, so you have that control. And then you as a host can say, okay, 10 minutes, but then you also have the ability to hit a button, and then in 60 seconds, everyone shoop, automatically comes back to the main room. So it's kind of a neat function there. Okay, I'm gonna keep moving forward. Let's see, I'm going to share my screen again and get back to my PowerPoint here. All right, so moving on. Let's talk again briefly as a reminder, scheduling your group meeting. So yeah, so again, the email address that you're going to be sending the information to is the nsync@pmdalliance.org. And that email address is something that both Trang and I can access. So that's the best place to send your info. So we want your name as the lead host. We want any co-host names, everyone's email addresses, so we can be sending information to everyone for your group, where your group is located and its name. And this is the new one. So the number of members on your group list. So this was something that we decided we wanted to capture just so we have a sense of all the people that we're able to help with this. So if you could please include this in the information that you send to us, that would be fantastic. And of course, the weekly time slot that you want to be meeting with your group. So that meeting time will be a total of 1.5 hours, and it can be Monday through Saturday between 9 a.m. Eastern time all the way till 8 o'clock Pacific time. So we have slots open for all of those times during the week. And then what happens when you send this information to nsync@pmdalliance.org, Trang will receive that. She'll be putting together a confirmation email, which includes your meeting time and day, the link to get in. We talked about the password. It's going to be password protected. And then if you're the support group leader, you're going to have that host key to be able to claim host. All right, so the next thing here, signed agreement must be attached to your email. So we're going to talk about that in a second. So the agreement is an important aspect of this. So today, after today's meeting, I'll be sending up a follow-up email like I have been. I'll be sending an attachment. It's a PDF, it's a fillable PDF agreement, and I'll show you what that looks like. But when you send this email with all your info, requesting your time, if you could also attach that signed agreement and send it at the same time, so it's all taken care of together, that would be the easiest. Okay, and then communication with your group. So some people were confused about how their group members will get the information about the meeting. So that's going to be your responsibility, just like you have been communicating with your groups prior to this. You will have the link, you'll have the password to pass on to them. So you're going to be sending emails as you used to in the past about your regular meetings. So it's just going to be sending the Zoom link and the password to them via email. Okay, hopefully that's clear. All righty. Okay, so here's some just some basic things about our agreement. I don't want to read it. I want to just send it to you today, and you can read it thoroughly. And if you have questions, please let us know. I just wanted to address some basics. So it goes over responsibilities of PMD Alliance, what we are agreeing to be responsible for. And so that includes providing the Zoom service, the info for all of your meetings and the scheduling, all the back end stuff. We're going to list your group on our site. Hopefully you are aware that we have a support group list on our website, and make sure to send us in information if you realize that you're not already on our list. And then recognizing you and your groups in our e-blasts. And then there are stipulations that support group leaders are agreeing to with this document. So ensuring privacy and protection. And I just wanted to go over these few things just to emphasize the importance of them. Let's see here. I'm just looking at the chat. I see a lot of information coming through. So hopefully everyone's getting taken care of. Okay, yes. So I just wanted to go through some of the specifics of how to ensure privacy and protection. So you as the support group leaders, the host, co-hosts, you do not share that host key with your group members. So you want to share the web link, and you want to share the password, but not the host key. And then no posting of those meeting links and passwords on social media. We talked about that, how that just invites strangers, people who aren't welcome, to get into our meetings. So make sure it's private email. Someone mentioned a meetup, a private meetup group, but nothing that's accessible by everyone, by the public. Use of your Zoom room is only during the specified time of the week that you're allowed to have your meeting. So of course, you or your group members, no one's able to go in and use that same Zoom room. At any other time other than what has been specified for your group. And then never record group meetings or copy or save group chats. So those are the important things that you'll need to agree to. And then we would hope that you would want to share the resources that we have. We've really ramped up all of our online programs, our NeuroLife Online. We have many programs each week now, now that we're all stuck at home. So please do share our resources with your group. And then finally, when you fill out your agreement, it'll be one agreement per group. So it won't be an agreement for a host of a group and a co-host of a group or two. It'll be one agreement for your group, and you'll include everyone who at this point, I know you may not know, but it'll be your name as a host, and then any of the co-hosts, you can put all of your names in there when you sign the agreement. So you can let me know if that's not clear, but I'm going to move forward and actually show you what the agreement looks like. Okay, so can you see this? If I could have a verbal yes, that would be great.
Yep.
Okay, so here is the PDF. So this is, again, will be an attachment on the email that you receive after today's training. And so this is what the agreement looks like. And it's a fillable PDF. So if you'll see my cursor, this is a memorandum of understanding, yada, 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 between PMD, and then it would be your name. So you can put as many, names as you'd like, and you'll see that the font shrinks. So you're able to get quite a few names in here if necessary. And so you'll fill in here, and then you'll fill in here. So it's very easy to use. Please do read through this very thoroughly. And at the bottom, you'll see a space where we'll ask you to sign. And of course, we're not going to ask you to print it and really sign it and scan it and all that stuff. Since it's fillable, we'll just ask you again to sign virtually and include all of the leaders' names here as a signature, and then date it right there. You would save it to your computer and then reattach that to the email you send back to us at insync@pmdalliance.org with all of your meeting request information. Okay. All right. Let's go back to our slideshow. Okay, and I see a lot of, let's see here, a lot of activity in the group chat. Hopefully everything is being taken care of. I'm going to address more of these questions at the end just so I can get through the content, and maybe I'll even answer some of your questions in the meantime. All right, so we've gone through this. All right, next slide. So I wanted to talk a little bit about when you have your meetings, just how to optimize your appearance and the way that you sound. We know that that's very important, and especially in this format, we want to make it as the best experience that we can. And so you might notice, just being on some of these Zoom calls, that sometimes it's really hard to see people or hear people well, and it just makes a real difference when things are clear and just visible, easy to see. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'll address audio first. We all know about our mute and unmute button. So that's really important to utilize for everyone, participants, hosts alike. If you have a lot of background noise, make sure that you're muted when you're not speaking. That's just a good general rule to follow. And I also wanted to address wearing, headphones, so sometimes it's easier to hear others, and because the mic is really close to my mouth, you can hear me better. So if you do have an option to have headphones plugged in, you might give that a try, as opposed to just using the mic from the computer. So yeah, just to think about those things as far as sound is concerned. So for your appearance, there are some do's and don'ts, if you will. So the first one up here, we just want to make sure that you're seen well. So to be front lit, not backlit. So where I am sitting in my living room, I'm actually sitting kind of at the dining room, and I have a big window opposite me. So I always, when I'm on my Zoom calls, I have a lot of front light. So I feel like when I see myself or see the image of myself, it seems fairly clear and bright. So just to think about being lit from the front, and you don't want to be sitting like in front of a window, if you will. So if you're sitting in front of a window, you're going to be dark, and it's just not going to be clear for people. And, you know, we just have to do our best. Sometimes our computers are set up in a space where we don't have a lot of ability to move things around. But just try to think about that. You can even place a lamp in front of you or behind your computer, something like that, to help kind of even out the way that you look. So you might think about working with that. Okay. Next one is don't oversaturate. So this would be the opposite. So say you do find a lamp and it has a super bright bulb and it's shining on you. I don't know if you've ever had that experience of looking at someone on the screen and they're just washed out. They're totally white. You can barely see their facial expressions. So just be aware of not to go over the top with it. No busy background. So hopefully you don't have a lot of movement. You don't have, you know, a lot of people walking around, and sometimes we just can't help it. But if you do have any way to modify your space, adapt it, especially if you are a host of a meeting. Sometimes as a participant, it's not quite as important. People aren't looking at participants. They're really just looking at the host most of the time. So just to think about that background. Right now, I can't see anyone. I have all of your faces so that I can't see you, but I know Andrea, I don't know if you're on right now, but she chose to put our PMD Alliance banner behind her just to have a focal point, but to also maybe minimize some of the busyness of the background in her house. So that could be an option. You might have a curtain, you know, mine is fairly simple. I do have some lines, so hopefully they're not too distracting to people, but just to think about that. We just want to, you know, look the best that we can and be easy to watch and listen to as hosts. So yeah, what we want is to keep it simple, simplified, but you know, aesthetically pleasing as well. Okay. All right, so say the first couple of weeks you start to meet with your groups, how do you help them? What are some of the things you can, you know, some different ways you can ease them into this? So first of all, if they're having trouble getting onto Zoom at all, please refer them to our phone-in Zoom help sessions, which we'll be having several over the next couple of weeks. And I will be providing that schedule to you in the follow-up email. So that is when people have trouble getting onto Zoom, they actually call in with their device in front of them, and they get walked through how to get onto Zoom. So that's just a really great resource that we're offering a couple of times a week. So please offer that to them. And then, let's see, guide your members on basic functions at the beginning of a meeting. So this is something that we like to do with our NLO programs that we have with people. So sometimes we just remind them of the basics because it might be the first time or their second time on and they forget. So some things that you can check off to go through with your group members is the gallery view and speaker view. So in the top right-hand corner of your Zoom window, you have that ability to have gallery view with everyone's faces about the same size, and it's the Brady Bunch look, or the speaker view where it's just whoever is speaking blows up really big and then everyone else stays small. So just have them practice that. The mute and unmute, that's essential. So of course we want to train them on how to mute and unmute themselves. We talked about that on Tuesday, but reiterating it here. The video on and off. So it's best if you can see people's faces and try to duplicate or replicate rather the feeling of the eye contact and facial expressions. You know, we know how much communication actually comes through with facial expressions and body language. So we're trying to mimic as close as we can to our regular support group meetings. So just try to encourage them to have their video on. And if, you know, sometimes, you know, someone will get disrupted, they have to get up and go to the front door, things like that. They can turn off their video to reduce distraction from the group. So you can talk a little bit about that. The chat box feature, which we've mentioned before. So really just show them how to open it and then maybe have them give it a try. Just have a little simple message, say hello, and so they get used to that. And then finally, the participants list. And the buttons to communicate. So we also talked about that. Show them where that participants list is, what it looks like, and then those yes and no and raise hand options. That's just going to add to their experience, I think. So if everyone's clear and there's like that basic tour for everyone at the beginning, that would be nice. And then you can do that probably a few times with your groups over a few weeks, just to make sure people stay familiar, you know, what it's like to not do something for a week and to come back and be like, well, now what was that? So just don't be afraid to repeat that exercise. I would suggest you and your co-leaders figure out what the expectations are for your meeting. So what does that mean? It's going to be setting ground rules. So you probably have ground rules for your in-person meetings. Think about what that means for the online version. They could be very similar, or there might be some specific updates just because of the format and how you're communicating with each other. But really think about what that is for you and what makes sense. And then with a guest speaker, how to ask questions and interact. I think Robin had some questions about that on Tuesday. So really think about how it is that you want your speakers, if you have them, to interact with your group members. And each speaker, each person is going to have their own preferences. So just to have that conversation prior to the meeting and say, how can we assist you? How can we be supportive? We don't want to, you know, because I know for me, like it's really hard for me to keep an eye on the chat box as I'm presenting. So, I mean, I think it's great that my colleagues are responding to your questions. So I appreciate that. So just have those conversations with your host, your co-hosts, and your speakers. And then start to just think about different ways to share with each other, using the chat, using those buttons. Maybe there's a little round robin, and the host, as we've spoken about before, everyone has a different order of participants on their screen. So it's really helpful. I really like this, where the host of a meeting, if there's a simple question about, you know, say, you know, 2 minutes about how you're feeling today. And then the host can say in their order on their screen, they can call out people instead of popcorn, because popcorn, it might take a little bit more time. There's lag in between. So just think about how you want to conduct the ways in which people communicate and share their experiences.
Could I add something, Shannon?
Yes.
And could you turn off the screen share so we can all see each other?
Of course.
So I just wanted to hop in and say, so just like in a real meeting, in an in-person meeting, I mean, think how it could really be misinterpreted if all of a sudden someone was sharing and you went up and, you know, put your hand over their mouth and forced them to stop talking. In essence, when you are the host and you mute someone, that it can be interpreted that way. So I think it's something that as group leaders we need to watch out for. I think I think setting expectations, like your slide said ahead of time, Shannon, helps. So people know if I hear background noise, or if I hear your phone start ringing or your alarm go off, you know, I have mute capabilities and I might mute you. I think sending a message in the chat after someone is muted can help too. So for example, Roger Jenkins, where did you go? Are you still on? So you were unmuted and there was some background noise while Shannon was talking. So I muted you. And then I sent you a private chat message, you know, did you want to ask a question? There was some background noise, so I muted you. And then, you know, to just address and let people know that I'm not, I'm not this like dictator, forcing my will on you, but, my role is to make sure that it's not chaos and things like that. So, I don't know. I just wanted to chime in because I don't know if anyone's experienced that, like because it's hard to get people to open up, electronically, virtually, digitally. And then when they finally do, like they get the mute, that can be something that's hard to recover from. But the mute capability is also really important because if someone, if their house alarm starts going off, or we've had things where people didn't know they were unmuted, and there was like a husband and wife that were cursing at each other and we had to mute them. I mean, sometimes it's a kind mute. So, and then that's, so I don't know if you guys we could even practice muting and unmuting, and maybe not in this session, but there is so you kind of have to be quick on the draw, and you have to be the host or the co-host. And I think you've covered already, how to tell if someone's talking, the yellow box, or in the participants list, their little microphone is flashing. So I don't know. I just wanted to talk about the power of the mute. And if that's like a skill drill that, we want to make people, maybe not today. I don't know how much time you have, Shannon, or maybe that's something that we practice like on our own or in a breakout room. Just all of a sudden doing the mute and unmute capability. So sorry, Shannon, but I just wanted to
that's really great. Thank you, Andrea. Andrea's had a ton of online facilitation experience with our NLO programs. She's been doing it for months and months, but now because we've ramped up our online programs in the last couple of weeks, she's on virtually every day. And so she has so much experience and perspective on it. So that's really great. And I just, I want you to notice, we haven't talked a lot about the yellow box. So it's funny because for me, the yellow box is on Andrea right now. I think she's typing. So that's creating some noise. Yes, so usually where sound is coming from, you'll see a yellow box surround that person's face. And so if you see that happening, there's background noise, a yellow box. Yeah, so Rachel, I see you. Rachel is, yeah, can you unmute yourself, Rachel?
Yes, do you want me to try and talk over you?
Yeah, so do you see
the loudest voice on the team, so.
Who, me?
So do you see how the yellow box goes to Rachel's face? And so
hi, everyone.
That's where you know that the sound is coming from. So I would be able to mute her. And yeah, so hopefully that makes sense.
And Shannon, the other thing too is if you're not in gallery view, remember that's where you have all of the lots of people and you're in speaker view, whoever the last person to talk, you're going to still see them. So like Shannon, when Shannon was saying Andrea had a box around her before, I didn't actually see the box. I saw it around Shannon. And so it's just good to know as the host that if you have the big view on especially, you'll still see the other person talking.
Yes. Exactly.
Or not talking, but their face there looking at you.
Thank you for that. We have a question from Judy about turning off someone's video. So yes, that actually is a capability. Let's see here. Yeah, for some reason, I'm not a co-host, so I don't have that ability right now. But if you are a co-host, you have the ability to take someone's video down. You can mute them, you can remove them, or put them on hold. So you have a lot of...
So I just turned off your video, Shannon, and you'll see now that her box just says her name. So when you're the host, those three dots, you can, that's the same place where you mute someone, you can stop their video, but then in order for them to start their video, you have to request them to start their video again. So I probably shouldn't have chose Shannon because we the most, but you'll see I just turned off her video and then I asked her to, gave her permission to turn it back on.
Right. So if something happens where you're, you know, maybe, yes, you're trying to help someone out. You know, I don't know if anyone else has seen that some people have accidentally taken their Zoom into the bathroom and they forgot to turn their video off. So that was not great. And it was recorded and it's all over the internet. So yes, let's not have that happen to us, and do, you know, help your friends. So, okay, thank you for that. Let me get back to, I think I have a few more slides and then we can do some Q&A. So let me share my screen again. All right, so we have been talking about helping your group members get started. All right, so we've been through that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some meeting ideas as we get going here, just so you have something to start from. You might have a lot to talk about if you haven't met with your folks in like 3 weeks, or actually probably longer than that. So the first couple might just be a Zoom tour, you know, just really touching base and more social. And then as things progress over time, you can get a little more structured, have more content for your meeting. So let's talk a little bit about some ideas of what that could be. So guest speakers. Just as you might have had guest speakers come to your in-person events, you can do the same thing with your online. Just like we do with our NLO programs each week, we have movement disorder specialists, we have other therapists, practitioners, people who are helping in our communities. We invite them to be guest speakers. So all they need, I think there was a question that came through, you know, how do you invite a guest speaker? Well, you just talk with them, see if they'd be willing to volunteer some time for your group. And you can communicate any way you want to do that, by phone or email, or you could request through Zoom and do it that way and get a little more experience just having a one-on-one with them. And that would have to be on your private Zoom account. That, you know, all you need is 40 minutes, or you have 40 minutes for a private free account, just so you know. But the point being is that the speakers don't have to have any special privileges. All they need is the same thing that your group members need, which is the meeting link and the password to get in. And then they come in just like a participant, and they can share their screen. And if they need to have a PowerPoint or a video, things like that, they do have that capability. So hopefully that's helpful. Right here, support group in a bag. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. So some of you may have participated in one of our in-person in-sync workshops over the last few years. And so we're able to travel the country and get some support group leaders together, which is awesome. Unfortunately, those are on hold for the moment, but what we do provide during those in-person workshops is like a kit. It's like a toolkit for support group leaders called Support Group in a Bag. It used to be a box, but we're making it more environmentally friendly now. So we're putting it in a little bag instead of a big plastic box. And so a part of that is a really excellent reference guide. So what I want to share with you today are 3 pages from that reference guide that talk a little bit about guest speakers, different topics that you can have addressed. And it just gives you tons of ideas, endless ideas about who you might contact to have speak for your group. So I'm going to share my screen, and then I'll show you what those pages look like from that reference guide. And we will be providing these to you on our resources page on our website. So I'll explain that in a moment, but hopefully you can see this. So in our reference guide, we have a few pages, and it's in alphabetical order by topic. So everything from an audiologist, hospice, neuropsychiatrist. So these are just tons of ideas of important topics, discussions that your group members might be interested to learn more about. And so it'll just get those wheels turning about who you might be able to contact to be a guest speaker. So that was the first page, A through O, and then O through the end of the alphabet here. So many different options here. So again, these pages will be available on our website for you to access and print out and start getting some ideas for guest speakers. Okay, and before I head back to my PowerPoint, I'm just going to show you this third page for efficiency reasons, but perhaps you don't necessarily want a guest speaker, but you want to have some topics to engage your group members and just have a point of just a place to come from as far as interesting information or background or inspiration, things like that. So here's a nice list of different things you can talk about with your group members, something fun. You could even in your email telling them about the upcoming meeting, you could prompt them and say, hey, we're going to be talking about professional accomplishments, start to think about that a little bit before we have our next meeting, just so sometimes people like to process things and have a little bit of time. So this is another page that we will provide to you on our resources page on our website. Okay. All right, so again, yes, that's that group discussions. And then roundtable. The roundtable concept is something that I learned from a local support group leader here in Santa Fe named Karen. She has this great thing where in person, they sit in a huge circle and they go one by one and they share with each other something that has been really helpful for them in the last month or two. So it's a little bit of show and tell. And then during that time, they also bring up questions and say, I've been struggling with this. I would really love to know if anyone else has that same issue. And so what Karen does is she writes down the question instead of addressing it right there. They get through the entire circle, and then she ends up with a nice list of questions that she brings up one at a time, and then the group discusses as a group, and people get some new insights, some new input into possible solutions. So yeah, these are 3 different ways to sort of approach your online meeting. Simple, but yeah, I think it's really good it's a good start. I wanted to share quickly some rules that I found online. A woman, Alexa Cutler, she's a great, let's just see, it's like a guide on how to host virtual meetings. And so these were her main rules, and I just thought they were really applicable for everyone to know. Have a co-host. You need somebody to help you troubleshoot. It's really hard to do it alone. Believe you me, I really appreciate my colleagues helping me. Be kind to yourself. Things will go wrong probably. So it's okay. Have patience, experiment, relax. I love that. You just have to let it go. This is not supernatural. You have to get used to this new process, this new way of interacting. Do at least one practice run. So maybe on your 15 minutes prior to your first meeting, get some co-hosts and friends together just to run through a couple of things and make sure you can be heard. Can you be seen? So you know that you have that 15-minute window before your meeting starts. Utilize that. You got this, just try it. It's fun. So just trying to keep a positive outlook, and that we'll just be grateful that we have this as an option. And then do not share your link on social media. You will get Zoom bombed. It's awful. So this woman, unfortunately, had a terrible experience with that herself when she was leading an online program. So just keeping these things in mind is pretty important. And this is just the reference of where I got this information. Okay, so some closing thoughts before we do some Q&A. Just want to make sure and get this out. Any ideas and feedback that you have, something that you would want trainings on in the future? I would like to continue to meet with you to see how these meetings are going. How else can we help you? And just to continue to improve. So please email me at that address. I wanted to also alert you to something that we've started this week here at PMD Alliance on our NLO program. So we are doing 3 support groups a week now, starting this past Tuesday. We have a brand new director of programs named Anissa. She's a social worker. She's awesome. She's going to be leading these support groups. So it could be for you to participate as someone who needs support yourself. You can utilize these meetings if they apply to you, say this everyone meeting on Tuesdays. If you wanted to just kind of watch how support groups might work online as a model, you could do that. So just to let you know, Tuesdays is for everyone, 2:30 Pacific time. Thursdays is for care partners specifically, if that applies to you or anyone you know. And then on Fridays, for those who have loved ones in care facilities, which can be very stressful during these times when contact is limited. So please get the word out about these if you feel like you know people who can benefit from this kind of support. Okay, so the follow-up email after today's training, you'll find the agreement, which you'll sign and return back with your information and meeting request. You'll be getting links to all these trainings that you can refer back to in the future. If you miss something, it's tons of information. We've got our support group leader resources landing page on our website, which if we have time, I'll show you where that is, but I'll send you a link so you know how to get to it right away. And then we also have a printable document of the Zoom basics tutorials. So Trang made this for us. So if you remember on Tuesday, we had those YouTube videos on how to do certain basic functions in Zoom. We actually have it written out so you can have a hard copy as you're trying to do this on your computer. So I'll include that. And then we all have the links to the phone-in Zoom help sessions that we're offering a couple times a week. So, and there might be more depending on what else I can think of to help everybody. So like with that, I just wanted to congratulate you all for getting through this with me. This is just step 1, as we know, and I think it's going to be really fun and exciting to see how this works. So thank you for going on this journey with us, and looking forward to seeing how it goes. I see lots of activity in the chat. Let's see here. My colleagues, are there any of these questions that I know I need to address, or have you?
Yeah, I think we've covered most of them, but if you could go over again. Okay, so there's a password, a host key, a meeting ID. Could you just lay the differences out and just, again, in a nutshell, what all of the different numbers are and why they are significant?
Sure, yes. So there are 3 pieces of information that you'll need to be a host of a meeting. The first is the link, and that's the clickable link that's going to take you to Zoom and open up Zoom from the get-go. Okay, so you'll have that from us, and then you will also get a password. So when you get to Zoom with the link, it's going to say you need to enter a password to enter. So you're going to copy and paste that password into that little dialog box, which will actually get you into the Zoom meeting, all right? Now to become host, because at that point you're just going to be a participant, and you want to have all of those, the ability to mute people, all those things we've been talking about. So you need to claim host. So in the bottom right-hand corner, there's going to be a button called Claim Host. You're going to hit that. It's going to open up a new window. and it says you need to enter the host key. So again, it's another type of password, but it's only for you as the leader. So you're going to enter that host key in there, and then you're going to become host, and you'll see that change in the participants list. You'll see that you're listed as a host. And so from there, when you have your co-hosts, your co-leaders join on, you can then hover over their name in the participants list and make them a co-host to give them those capabilities of muting and unmuting, etc. So hopefully that helps. The videos, the YouTube videos that Trang created, the documentation, that's the printable version of these instructions. These will all help you as well. Okay. So Robin asked, with headphones, is my computer mic automatically turned off? So yes, as opposed to my computer hearing my voice, and this is a microphone right here. So when I put my headphones into the jack on my computer, it disables the computer mic, and it's only coming from here. So if I were to unconnect, now you should be hearing me through my computer mic. Do you hear me again? Does it sound different? Is the quality any different? Is it a little lower? Yeah, so you see, I could talk louder, you know, so those are some things you can try out for yourself. And you can do that in your 15-minute window prior to the start of your meeting and say, hey, you know.
Sounds like you're in a cave.
I'm in a cave. Yeah, it's not as clear, is it, Roger? So yeah, it's good to have those little nitpicky things figured out.
Shannon, the other thing you can do, I learned this the other day actually, is if in the Zoom program, like even if you just have it on your computer and you're not in a room, if you go to your settings, you can actually, and I'll find a link as how to get to your settings so you guys have that. But you can actually test your sound, and when you test your microphone, you can hear how you sound. It'll play it back for you. So I'll grab a link so you guys know how to get there.
Thank you, Rebecca. Sorry, I'm not great at multitasking, as we know, and so I'm reading as you're giving that answer. Is there something I need to include in the follow-up email?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the chat, but it's gonna be a link on how to get to your Zoom client settings on your phone or your iPad or wherever you are, so you can test your microphone if you're concerned. You don't even have to be in the room to test it.
Interesting. Okay. Yes, that's a little beyond me. So thank you, Rebecca, for your expertise there. Okay, so
Irene was raising her hand.
oh, great. Where are you, Irene? I don't think you're on my front screen. Let's see. Irene, where are you?
Hi.
Hi there.
Hi. I had just removed the hand, but I did want to know, when we have the different people in the boxes, is it like activated where when one of the participants talk, their video is actually shown? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, because the screen will change
Okay.
when different participants are talking sometimes.
Yes, there are two views that you have an option to choose. So if you hover over your screen with your mouse, and in the top right-hand corner, there it says speaker view or gallery view. And if you click on that, it will put you automatically to the other option. So the gallery view is like being in an art gallery where you're seeing all the paintings at once. Okay, so that's the Brady Bunch version. So you're seeing everyone's face in their equal size. That's gallery. And speaker view is when the person who is currently making noise, speaking, blows up and they become really big. So why don't you toggle through those two different options? So if you hit those, and you might have an icon as well. So I know that when I'm in gallery, it says speaker view, and then I can hit that and it takes me to the other option. But then I have icons at the top instead of it being spelled out. So the gallery view looks a little bit like the side of a Rubik's Cube, if you know what that looks like, or a tic-tac-toe. Does anyone else have that experience? So either way, you can either have the speaker view or gallery view, whatever you feel more comfortable with. I really like seeing everyone's face and being in gallery view.
Okay, but my question is, like, let's say I want to talk. Does my screen automatically come up in the speaker view versus what was there before?
So it depends on each person's computer and whatever they have selected as their view. So for me right now, Irene, I'm in gallery view and everyone is equal size. And then I see that you're speaking because the yellow box is around your name. I don't see your video because you don't have your video enabled, but I see your name, Irene, but it doesn't grow in size. It's still small.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions that we've missed just because the chat keeps on going? You can unmute yourself and.
There was a question about registering from NMBCH about the group members. What do they need to do to register for a meeting? So I don't know if you're out there and want to unmute yourself and ask a follow-up question, but can you handle that, Shannon?
Yes, so there is no registration necessary for your group members to participate. So again, you will receive a meeting link and a password to give to all of your group members. You're going to send that to them via email. They don't have to register to take part. All they have to do is click on the link and then enter the password and they will automatically get into the meeting. What you're asking, I believe, is because you need to register to come into PMD Alliance's programs, but we're a little bit different. So it's it's more simplified for your groups. You don't have to actually register for any of your meetings, any of your group members. Is that clear?
Oh, you're muted. Go ahead, sir.
I said yes, that answers my question.
Oh, great. Good, good. Okay. Excellent. So that was a lot of information, yes? Someone's asking about the Resilience online support groups. If you go into our website, can someone actually, Rebecca, can you put the link to our 2020 events? So we have an ongoing, constantly updated events list on our website. The best way to access that, maybe I'll share my screen and show you how to get there. So you can access those support group meetings. Let's see, where do I want to go? Here we are. Okay, so here is the website, the homepage. And you either see in-person programs here or NeuroLife Online. We have the same option on both. We're not meeting in person right now, but we just want to make sure everyone knows that we're still having programs. So either way, we're going to hit on 2020 at a glance. It's going to take us to this excellent list that shows everything we're doing, and it's constantly being updated. So in-person programs, you don't really need to pay attention to what has been postponed. This is what we had planned on. So over here is where you can concentrate on. So we eliminate the dates that have passed, and so we keep really up to date on this. So what we're experiencing right now is our session number 2, and this is how you would register. So the question was how to access the support groups. You don't actually have to register like you do for many of our NLO programs. We want to eliminate any barriers for people to be part of a support group, if that makes any sense. So we're not requiring registration. All you would do is click here to join. And so April 9th, today's Thursday, this is our Care Partners Day. So if I were to click on that, it's going to take me to a little bit more information about this group. So it says a little bit about the facilitator here, when, and it's for care partners. So I wonder what would happen if I hit launch now. So it's actually going to try to take me into another Zoom, which we don't want. So I'm glad that didn't remove me. Let's see, what do I want to do? I'm going to stop my share. There we are. So hopefully that is helpful. And now you know how to get to everything that we're doing every week. And there really is so much going on. So anything else, Andrea?
Yeah, the one last question was, what if a group member wants to join by phone? How do you get the phone number?
Okay, so we will be, when we send your meeting link that you would normally click on to take you into Zoom, we also offer access via phone. Okay, so let me show you what this looks like. Again, I'm going to share my screen. And I think you had 2 invitations this morning. So Trang and I both sent them, not knowing the other was doing that. So we're winning today. So I think 2 is better than 0. But I'll show you what that invitation looked like. So if someone could have called into this meeting today, and I'll show you how they would do that. Yes, Roger.
Sometimes the phone view doesn't give you as much information as the computer view.
Yes, for sure. I know the phones are limited in what you can see. Of course, it's a very much smaller screen. So if you do have access to a computer, I would highly suggest that you try to use your computer if you have one. Thank you. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. This is what Trang sent out this morning. So here is an example of what the meeting link looks like. So if I were to click that, that's how I got into the meeting today. These last digits here, that's your meeting ID. It's not necessary, but when you get your information from us, you'll have more information, like the password will be here, the host key will be here. All right, so again, we don't want to share the host key with our group members. We just want to share the meeting link, the password. Now, if they are calling in, this is the information that they want right here. So dial by your location. It doesn't really matter which one of these phone numbers they use. It just means that Zoom has a lot of traffic. So they're increasing the number of phone numbers they have. So they're gonna call into one of these phone numbers. They'll be asked to enter a meeting ID, and that's the same ID as you see up here. And that's how they get in by phone. And so you'll see that someone has a little phone icon. Instead of a name, it might have their phone number listed, so you know it's a phone call and not a video call. All righty. Okay. All right, it looks like we covered most things, hopefully. You're always welcome to email me after this if you have specific things we can help you with. We're 15 minutes overtime, so we had a lot to cover, and I'm so glad you're all still here. And yes, just really looking forward to start to receive your agreements and your meeting requests, and we can hopefully start to get this rolled out by maybe mid next week. So we'll have to be a little flexible and see how this goes, see what kind of response we get, and how quickly we can get back to you. So we're going to do our very best with that. Okay, anything else from the staff that I've forgotten? No? All righty. Well, thank you all so much. Woo! We did it. Again, thank you. And I'm so looking forward to having you all continue your support group meetings with your community. So this is really great. All right, everyone. Hope you have a great day. Look out for the follow-up email, hopefully by this afternoon. Thank you so much. Everyone take care.